Hello class, we are now wrapping things up here, our final assignment, the timed essay exam. So I'm going to give you some suggestions here, but keep in mind that this is going to sound pretty familiar. It's going to be very similar to the last timed essay exam because the way to prepare and succeed is essentially the same. Now the exam isn't exactly the same. There are going to be some different things about this one. So you still want to, when you start that exam, you're going to want to read the instructions carefully and make sure you understand them. But as far as preparation and time limit, all that kind of stuff, that'll all be the same. So as we said last time, it's important as you complete this final exam, if you're taking it, that means you're either trying to raise your score for the last assignment, or for the midterm. So you wanted to raise your midterm score, so this can do that. Keep the higher of the two scores. So either that's the case, or you scored lower than 63 on the midterm, and so you have to take it in order to pass it. Now this will still, either way it's going to raise your score as long as you score higher, but you have to pass this exam with a 63 or higher to pass English 101 if you did not pass the midterm. So as we said last time, the first step is to make sure you have enough time to take this exam. This is the last thing we're working on. We don't have any other assignments due at this point, but you need to have enough time to prepare, and you need to have enough time to take the exam. It's going to be a 2-hour exam, just like last time, and you'll want to spend probably about 2 hours getting ready. So that gives you about 3 to 4 hours to prepare. Now, if you have extra test time accommodations through CBC's Resource Center, you want to factor those in, but I need to know about them already if you're going to take advantage of those. Okay, so make sure you set aside enough time and you put yourself in a distraction-free environment. You barricade yourself in there during the exam and nothing's going to interrupt you, because at this point, this is pretty important. Probably the most important part of the quarter for you. So you want to make sure you set yourself up for success. Step 2 is you're going to read the article. So again, we have an article we're going to read. It's called 20 Is College Education Worth It? Pros and Cons by Louise Geil, and you're going to find that in the same module that you found this presentation. So make sure you read that beforehand. Step 3, you have more feedback now. Review the feedback on any previous assignments, especially your first timed essay exam, the midterm. Whatever it is that you were marked down on for that exam, those are the things you really want to address this time to make sure that you raise your score. So read that feedback or watch the video, whatever it was. Pay attention to it. Make sure you really make notes about what you can improve this time. Step 4, there is a question and answer board in this module. If you have questions, make sure you post your questions as early as possible, but also check it to see if anybody else asked the same question that you already have. And I will check those, try to check those periodically. Now notice if you post a question Thursday evening after 5 p.m., I'm less likely to see it, just because I am a human being. I don't have 24-hour availability. So if you can post it on Wednesday as opposed to Thursday, it's better. Or, Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, I'll check. But if it's Thursday evening, 11 p.m., I'm probably not going to see it. So try to post your questions earlier than later. But also, maybe your question will be addressed by somebody else earlier than you on the board. So this is, again, a 2-hour timed exam. Once you open it, again, you won't be able to go back. If you open it, you have to finish it within the 2 hours. You won't be able to go back or exit it and come back. You can read the article before you start the exam, but please do not start writing the essay or even pre-writing the essay or outlining the essay until you open the exam and read the directions. You don't know what kind of essay this is going to be. For all you know, you might have to write an analysis essay this time, or you might have to write an argumentative essay, or you might have to write some other genre of writing. You don't know that, so don't start writing until you open the exam. You know what the reading's about, but it doesn't make sense to start pre-writing until you actually get the prompt and the instructions. Step 5, of course, is take the exam. Just set aside those 2 hours and do it. Before you start, I recommend that you read the Guile reading more than once. More than one time. Make sure you understand it. Make sure that you are in a distraction-reduced environment where you're not going to be interrupted. And be well rested and fed before you begin the exam so that you have brain power. I also recommend that you read the instructions for the exam carefully and follow them. So some of you last time, it said to write 2 body paragraphs and you wrote 3 body paragraphs. That's fine, but you worked more, you did more than you needed to, and you could have saved yourself some time and some effort by just reading those instructions. So you don't know how many body paragraphs are going to be required this time. You don't know what the requirements are. I'm not going to give those to you at this point. I want you to read those carefully once you start the exam. So please make sure you pay close attention. What can you use during the exam? You can use your reading, of course, and any class resources. So anything you find in this class in the modules is fair game. You can look at feedback from your old essays while you take it if you want to, but I recommend doing a lot of that preparation before. Gather your materials before so you're not spending 20 minutes browsing through the modules. Where was that handout again? Trying to find it. Get everything ready to go before you start. So you can use the class resources. The modules are essentially your class textbook, quote unquote, so you can use all that stuff. Whatever's going to be helpful to you. If there was a particular grammar lesson that you think you need to pay attention to, right? If you struggle with comma splices, maybe take that comma splices quiz before you start and then use that comma splices resource as you're writing your essay and go back and check for comma splices. Whatever it takes for you to succeed, use those resources and use them to your advantage. Be prepared. So just make sure that you have all that stuff gathered and ready before you start the exam. You've got all those tabs open or downloaded or whatever so that you don't spend a lot of time searching. You can use an online dictionary or a thesaurus as well. Those are fine. But of course, when you're so I guess I should add that to this list. You can use those, online reference works, but do not use any sources besides a dictionary, besides the Louis Guile article. Don't go and find your own articles. Don't use old papers. All of those things are not, you're not allowed to use those. So stick to this list, but also know you can use reference works, and those are okay. If you include a definition in your paper, though, make sure you cite it. What you can't use during the exam, of course, you don't want to use friends. You don't want to use writing tutors for this at all. Family members, other articles and materials from the internet besides a dictionary or thesaurus. So pretty strict. You don't want to plagiarize on this one, especially. Don't fall into that temptation because you could fail the whole course over that. So play it safe. Do your own work. Use your own materials. Going back to this list, you can use that article. You can mark it up. The Louis Guile article, I recommend that you print it out and annotate it before you get started. You can even use that hypothesis Chrome extension that I've alluded to previously. It's free, and you can annotate it right in your browser. But I recommend printing the article, if you can, and writing on it so that you have it there in front of you while you're writing. But of course, you could copy and paste it into Microsoft Word and annotate it that way. That's fine too, as long as you can manage all those tabs and windows. Okay, so that pretty much covers what you can and can't use. Additional tips: when you start the exam and read the instructions, please start with an outline. Make an outline or storyboard. Come up with your thesis. Come up with your points. Make sure you've got the right number of paragraphs. If it says 2, you only need 2. If it says 4, you need 4. If it says 3, just follow the guidelines there. But plan out what you're going to say in each paragraph. What will each paragraph cover? And make sure each paragraph only covers a single point. A lot of people struggled on the other exam because they packed their paragraphs with multiple points. You don't want to do that. Keep it simple. When you read the Louis Guile article, there's 20 different pros and cons. You don't want to list all 20 of those pros and cons in your essay. You want to choose the right number depending on the instructions. So if you need a certain number of paragraphs, make sure you only make a few points. You don't have to cover everything that can possibly be said on this subject. Keep it simple. Limit your paragraph to just 1 point each. That's really important. I can't stress that enough. Please keep your paragraphs limited That's going to make a big difference for all of you. And that was the main thing that held us back last time, was I'm trying to cover 5 or 3 or 2 points in one paragraph when I really only need to cover 1 and just go in depth on that 1 point. Figure out what personal experiences to use in each paragraph if that's in the instructions. Again, I'm not going to clarify that yet, but if it calls for personal experience, figure that out. If it calls for something else, like analysis, figure that out. You will need to use quotes. I can say that safely. You'll need to use quotes in your essay, so figure out which quotes you're going to use. But this is, again, after you've started the essay, not before, because you haven't read the instructions yet. So, to reiterate, watch the clock, manage your time well, be mindful of the time. Don't spend 1 hour writing your introduction and then try to write the body paragraphs and conclusion in the other hour. Block it out so each section gets the right amount of time. Of course, try to keep yourself free of distraction as much as possible. Maybe this means you got to take the exam after your kids go to bed or early in the morning, whatever is working for you. Read the instructions, of course, carefully. Make sure you don't write more paragraphs than you need to. You can take mini breaks, but I want to emphasize the mini here because you've got a time limit, right? But sometimes you do need to just get up, walk around. That's using, circulating the blood throughout your body. That's going to help your brain work better. And I know this is stressful because this is an exam, and for some of us, this is the determining factor on whether or not you pass the class. I get that. That can be a lot of pressure. But stressing out excessively isn't going to do you any favors. So relax, take a deep breath. What is the worst thing that can happen? If you fail this class, then you have to take it again. But you're not going to die. You're not going to experience any major catastrophe because of this. Yes, that would be a pain if you passed it, but give yourself permission to understand that that's an option, and it's not going to be the end of the world, right? You're still going to be okay if that happens. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it happens, so what, right? You'll get up, you'll figure it out, you'll move on, and you'll get it done next time, right? As long as you learn from what you need to. So give yourself a little bit of leeway there. Don't stress out too much. Just relax. Take a deep breath. Give yourself a positive frame of mind here, but don't let the stress paralyze you. And some people may find it useful. If you have paralyzing anxiety about this, you might consider talking to a CBC counselor before you take it. Or you might do some Google searching for ways to cope with anxiety. Maybe look into meditation and mindfulness. There's lots of techniques out there. Use your resources. Okay, so the key is to just take this in stride. Know that this is important, but it's not going to be a life or death situation for you. You can handle this. And other than that, I just really want to emphasize that I think you guys can all succeed at this as long as you are willing to learn from what you need to learn from. So don't overly stress about this, but give it the right amount of emphasis. I wish you all the best of luck. I hope that you all succeed. And in the meantime, let me know what I can do to support you.